Today, China controls over 18% of global GDP, while extreme poverty sits near zero. But roll the clock back 40 years, and the picture flips entirely. China's global economic footprint shrinks to 2%, and severe poverty engulfs over 90% of the population. That desperate baseline wasn't an accident. By the mid-20th century, the country had been hollowed out by foreign colonialism, an opium epidemic, decades of civil war, and the loss of 30 million lives during World War II. Out of that wreckage emerged the People's Republic of China in 1949. It was governed by a strict top-down communist structure, with absolute authority resting on the shoulders of one man, Mao Zedong. With no democratic checks and balances in place, the entire machinery of a massive nation, its agriculture, its industry, its survival, was locked to the untested theories of a single ruler. In 1958, Mao launched the Great Leap Forward. Private farming was outlawed overnight, and land was seized to create government-run collectives. Because farmers could no longer own their crops or earn a personal profit, they stopped caring about yields. Grain production plummeted by 15% in just 3 years. The top-down mandates became increasingly dangerous. Seeking to protect crop seeds, Mao ordered the nationwide extermination of sparrows. Millions of birds were slaughtered, which removed the natural predators for insects. Pests multiplied rapidly, devastating the remaining crops and contributing to a famine that killed tens of millions of people. Facing intense criticism for these failures, Mao refused to adjust his policies. Instead, he initiated the Cultural Revolution in 1966 to crush political opposition. Student militias, known as Red Guards, terrorized intellectuals and party officials, enforcing strict ideological loyalty through public humiliation and violence. By the time Mao died in 1976, his rigid commitment to central planning had stalled progress entirely. The country was socially fractured, economically broken, and still deeply impoverished. The death of Mao opened the door for a new leader who had survived the purges, Deng Xiaoping. He realized that suffocating state control was destroying the country, and he introduced a framework he called socialism with Chinese characteristics. Instead of imposing rigid ideologies from the top down, Deng championed a deeply practical philosophy, crossing the river by feeling the stones. Under this approach, every economic policy had to be tested locally, evaluated by data, and adjusted before rolling out nationwide. The first major test was the household responsibility system. The government still technically owned the land, but individual farming families were granted long-term leases. Once they met a baseline government quota, they were allowed to sell any excess crops for their own profit. Agricultural output immediately surged. Deng applied this exact logic to manufacturing. He stripped local Communist Party officials of their control over factories and handed responsibility directly to the managers and workers. They were given the freedom to set their own production targets, choose their pricing, and determine their own salaries. By simply decentralizing authority and allowing individuals to capture the financial rewards of their own labor, the state ignited a compounding spike in national productivity. Lifting people out of starvation secured the base, but Deng knew that cheap, uneducated labor could only push an economy so far. To scale into a true industrial powerhouse, the country needed to engineer a highly capable, technical workforce. In 1986, the government passed a compulsory education law, guaranteeing 9 years of free schooling for every child. They aggressively increased their education budget year over year, funneling heavy, continuous investment directly into science, technology, engineering, and math. This newly skilled rural workforce was then channeled into township and village enterprises. These were locally owned businesses that bridged the gap between farming and global industry. Small rural electronics and manufacturing startups utilized this talent pool to grow into massive global companies like Huawei. This sequence was deliberate: secure the food supply, mandate technical education, and foster localized industry. It built a massive, highly capable engine ready for the global stage. With the internal foundation set, China opened its doors to foreign capital in 1980 by establishing special economic zones like Shenzhen. Inside these designated coastal cities, the government slashed bureaucratic red tape, removed heavy regulations, and offered major tax incentives to attract massive foreign direct investment. Global giants like Apple and Nike invested billions to leverage a disciplined, technically educated workforce that had been systematically engineered to dominate manufacturing. This animated line chart compares the GDP per capita of India and China since 1990. Both nations start near the same baseline, but as the decades progress, China's economic output rapidly diverges, rocketing up to more than 3 times the size of India's today. This wealth allowed the state to pour hundreds of billions of dollars into high-speed rail, public transit, and advanced scientific research, physically cementing the country as a modern superpower. But this explosive growth came with a heavy condition. Deng Xiaoping granted immense economic freedom, but he maintained an absolute, violent grip on political power, a reality laid bare by the brutal military suppression of protesters at Tiananmen Square in 1989. Severe environmental degradation, grueling pandemic lockdowns, and a complete lack of democratic civil liberties became the mandatory, silent trade-offs for this rapid wealth generation. Pragmatic economics successfully pulled hundreds of millions of people out of poverty, but the refusal to democratize left the foundation inherently vulnerable. Today, as power aggressively re-centralizes under Xi Jinping, the dangerous shadow of unchecked dictatorial control has returned.